Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
What a great topic about codependency and
Yeah.
dealing with people who have obsessive compulsive
Yeah, we,
sort of
we've been through
issues.
some of that.
Yeah. And the course is always saying to us the way we can be loving to others is hold our peace inside,
Yeah,
right? And
Yeah.
so when we look at them, if we recognize that we're not going to lose our peace no matter what they do,
yeah,
we're teaching them
yeah,
that nothing outside them can affect them.
right.
I mean, it's a huge deal.
Yeah, and we can walk away. We know that.
That's right. You have to know your strengths.
That's right.
You know
Yeah,
what you're capable of doing. It kind of goes back to that idea we'd been talking about with Casey, how he burned himself out
Edgar Casey. Yeah,
because he didn't ask. He just assumed, yes, I should just be loving it, and then he got kind of burnt out. So you want the guidance on how to express your love and your care for others in such a way so it's received
and it's not sacrificial.
and it's not it's not a loss to love. So.
Yeah. So I just have to say something about the northern Minnesota thing. And Luann mentioned she was from Wisconsin before we got on. And it's like, you all got to know that I call him Nordic. It's like he's from Minnesota.
Yeah.
And he's really, really tough.
Yeah, there in Minnesota, we don't do it like you do out here in the Southwest. Oh no, we do it the old-fashioned way. We suffer for it.
So today's lesson
What is it?
It's 195. Love is the way I walk in gratitude.
Wow.
It is a really, really good lesson. To me, it's one of the biggies. This week is full of biggies. I had an experience this morning. I did my practice, and then I went out for a walk, and I went really early.
Yeah.
I was out there by about, I was out there at 5:30. And on my walk, I was doing my practice, praying with this, being grateful, reviewing some of the thoughts, and, like that. I came home, and I put on something I wanted to watch, and I fell asleep. I was sitting there in front of the computer. I thought, I guess I better go to bed. So I took a nap, and when I woke up, it was because I heard the garbage truck,
Yeah.
and I was automatically grateful for the garbage guy. I mean, it's like, yeah, this thing works. It's like, putting, like you say, putting ink in the water.
Yeah.
It just really, it works on you when you work with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So part of what we wanted to talk about today is the ability of gratitude to be the one singular thought, and it's more than just a thought, it's more of a mood, it's more of a sense of feeling safe, protected,
Peaceful,
nurtured, all of those things. But as a single thought, what this lesson is saying is today we learn to think of gratitude in place of anger, malice, and revenge. We've been given everything.
Let's take those two sentences separately.
Which two?
Today we let go of anger, malice, and revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that completely covers everything, because we're either attacking ourselves or we're attacking others in place of ourselves.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, he says in 3, your brother is your quote-unquote enemy because you see in him the rival for your peace.
Yeah.
Right. So my peace, my inner peace, is a function of me accepting the truth of who I am and forgiveness, acceptance of salvation.
Right.
But when I'm tempted to think that something outside of me is taking that away, whether it's the world, the person, or my body, then I can practice gratitude for every living thing, for that being, because they brought me an example of my true self, which I can love as one.
Right.
And so there's nothing that can happen that I can't experience love, because either it will be loving or a call for love.
Call for love.
But my gratitude replaces all of this. I got to struggle with these, terrible, crazy people who are going to rob me of my peace.
Yeah.
Instead,
Or be helplessly upset about things outside of ourselves. People, situations, conditions.
Right.
Yeah.
So gratitude as the one thought that replaces all upsets in that moment, right? Yeah. What this lesson is saying gratitude means is you've been given everything.
Right.
And what it means by that, would you agree, is that I've been given everything to be able to find my peace now.
Yes.
To find my sense of peace, okay,
right. Because
content.
Peace is what we... So let's talk about what God means by everything.
Yeah.
And then we'll take that second sentence you read.
All right, go for it.
Okay, so everything means peace, joy, happiness, all those things that we strive for by trying to get steps toward it.
Right. Or circumstances managed.
Or people shaped up.
Yeah.
You shape up, then I'm going to be okay.
Right.
I'll be happy when you stop drinking or something like that. So it's like, no, you've been given happiness now.
Yes.
Joy now. Gratitude now. We've been given everything. It's like the top of the mountain. We've been given that.
Right, and the distinction, right, of that is that all of that peace and love and joy is unconditional.
Yep.
It's without a condition.
Yep.
Whereas that's how you spot the ego sense of how do I find peace and love. It's always conditional.
Right.
It's like if this happens, then I'm going to be happy.
Right.
And this is saying it's unequivocal.
Right.
That joy inside. So if I've been given everything, to me, it implies what you said, but it also implies I have whatever specific form of forgiveness I need in that moment.
Yeah.
I have that specific thought.
It's been given to us. Yeah. We just have to access it.
So let's talk a little bit of what it says about the beginning of what's the opposite of that.
Okay.
So what it's saying in here is that our thankfulness has to be rooted into the truth of who I am.
Yeah.
The fact that God has given us everything, the fact that we are just love extended, we have everything we need to remember that. So it's talking about an internal situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what this is addressing, though, is that's the kind of gratitude that's real and genuine. We don't want the kind of gratitude where we compare ourselves to others,
right,
and say, this is why I'm happy because I don't live there.
Thank God.
Or I'm not in that situation.
I'm not there.
Or I'm not tall, or I'm whatever.
Yeah,
you know, it's
all of the things that we compare ourselves and thus feel grateful.
Yeah.
That is not the kind of that's like conditional love.
Yeah.
It's conditional gratitude, and it's the ego has a version of everything.
Right.
It has a version. If you ever read the Song of Prayer, which is one of the supplements, it has a version. The ego has a phony version of healing, phony version of forgiveness, a phony version, what's the third one? Prayer, right? Yeah. So the ego has got a way of taking the good, the true, and the beautiful and giving it to you with a good dollop of sand. Like, here's a nice meal. And they pour sand on it. It's like, ooh, it's delicious. Ah. That's the ego's version of gratitude. It is based on separation. And it's based on what I can get to myself alone as opposed to what I can share with them. Right. Because like the Course talks about our private thoughts, our private experience through time and space. That's private to us. That's not what we can share. What we can share is this universal atonement. Right. So this starts with taking a look at the ways that we're attributing happiness to ourselves by comparing. Even comparing our past self to our present self, or what we can be. Any kind of comparison is going to make two when there's only one. Right. That's there. So it checks that. Did we cover the second sentence? Remember how I interrupted you?
Well, the everything was the
second
one.
part.
But I wanted to give an example recently of how I uncovered this sort of pseudo gratitude. Is that a man I knew really well, and he was a course student. I'd found that he'd taken his life, and it just so threw me off. And I mean, it was a couple of days where I just, you can get to a place where whatever it seems to be that you're doing is not working. Well, it really is. But anyways, what I recognized in that situation was I uncovered my sense of happiness being rooted in, I don't live in Tucson, or I don't live in these circumstances. I uncovered that my happiness was tied to these conditional things. Mm-hmm. And somehow or other, that sense of happiness was broke when I recognized the tragedy of that death, the tragedy of that person. So comparing, my sense of happiness to what I'm not, or how I'm different than other people, that's what he's talking about.
Right.
And he's literally calling it insane to compare yourself to those whom you are one with.
Let's not let this go by without qualifying the idea of tragedy of death.
Yeah.
Because the Course is saying there is no death. The body dies, yes. We're not the body. This is our vehicle. And yet, when we're in a state of upset, of separation of any kind, so however it hit you as separation, it looks really real. He says in some place, seeming tragedy. Those are the kinds of terms that he uses. So I just didn't want to let that go by.
No, and that's a good point, because what it's saying here is if I heal this little bit of fear, shame, guilt, anxiety here, I'm actually healing the false self, and I'm actually healing death, because death is the ego's gambit of how we're going to end all our problems. We'll die and they'll just be all gone.
Right. Yeah.
So that was that sort of pseudo death. In any case, the big idea here is not comparing.
Right.
Not to have our joy be a function of some condition we're comparing ourselves, but our joy is unconditional.
I had this is kind of like from our childhood. Eat your meal because children are starving in China.
Yeah.
Right. Thank God my children are not starving. Right. That kind of gratitude. Well, I had a positive experience along those lines when my friend Charlotte is amazing. She's a Black American who got inspiration to go to Africa, and she did an amazing project over the course of, I don't know, maybe 15 years. Amazing work that she did with one village and then a few other villages close by. And she helped, just to be quick about it, 2 doctors, several people got to college, children got lunches that they grew in their own gardens, all kinds of things that she did. Water so they didn't have to walk. She told me about this one person that I remember her telling me about when she was active in the project, who was an orphan, and because he had no place to live, they have a tradition in that country where orphans just they're on their own. And she got a sponsor for him to go to boarding school, so he had a place to live, and now he's an engineer. But due to the circumstances there, he only earns $100 a month. It's like you have to be an engineer as a volunteer, probably from the old colonial days when, if you want to be one of us, you've got to, pay your dues. So instead of feeling like, oh, I have got, enough groceries and enough everything, it was like, this person is this person is part of me. So I'm telling you now, I wrote a check, right? Specifically for this person, because I was guided to do it in that way. You know, it's like, oh, I've got something, I can share it.
We'll have to be excused and talk about this check. No, that's a good example. So, okay, so he's establishing here at the beginning that it's crazy to have your thankfulness be rooted in, comparing yourself to other people.
So look at.
But the next step, and then we'll go there. But the next step, he says, it's insane to offer thanks because of suffering. And that's what you're doing. You're grateful because they're suffering and you're not, right? But here's the other insanity. But it's equal insane to fail in gratitude to the Holy Spirit, who offers you the certain means whereby all pain is healed and suffering replaced with laughter and with happiness.
That's paragraph 2 if you're following.
Right. So it's insane to compare myself to others because I'm different than them. But it's also insane for me not to take the answer that's there right now to heal all of my suffering.
And not only all of your suffering, but all of everybody's suffering.
Right, and I have the ability to share that.
Yeah.
That's the big turnaround.
Yeah.
So not to feel guilty because you're happy because, and not to feel guilty about that. Of course you should be happy for the things that you have, the tools that you've been given. It's just this little subtle comparison thing.
Yeah, I've got a better something than somebody else.
I'm better than you. But then I've been given everything, not only for my healing, but for everyone.
Yeah. That's huge.
That's the difference than comparing. I have this love that's for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that,
Are we blessed?
Yeah. Okay. So then he goes. So I said those two, and then you said you wanted to get to that.
Okay. So I wanted to go to paragraph 5, and maybe we'll do a little practice.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it says, sentence 2: let your gratitude make room for all who will escape with you, the sick, the weak, the needy and afraid, and those who mourn a seeming loss or feel apparent pain, who suffer cold or hunger, or who walk the way of hatred and the path of death. All these go with you. Let us not compare ourselves with them, for thus we split them off from our awareness of the unity we share with them. So just to go to the top of that list, the sick, and that's the sick of mind as well as body. It could also include financial sickness. The weak, needy, people who are needy, maybe they're clawing on to you in a needy way. All these are people that our gratitude is due to, because they give us the opportunity to see the light in them and in us at the same time, to see the unity of our being.
Yeah, and so instead of like holding our nose when we're looking at all those, right?
Yeah.
Here they've come. This is the Christ self.
Do you know that prayer? Do you know where that prayer is? Send them to me, Father.
I tried to find it, but I couldn't.
So there's a prayer in part 2 that lists this kind of thing. And and then it says, send them to me, Father.
Yeah, think about that think about today, about the people you may meet or interact with that are a little bit irritating to you, and think how, I'd really like to avoid those people in my life today. And this is saying, send them to me. Send those hungry, cold, suffering, send them to me, because guess what? I'm going to remember the true self of love I am if I'm grateful to them and I don't compare myself to them. Or even compare myself to how I failed in the past or whatever.
Yeah, compare yourself to an image of your own self. Yeah. Thank God I am now enlightened. I used to be in the dumps, but now I am wonderful. That's a comparison.
Yeah.
It's sure to separate you from other people. Yeah, so you want to do a practice with this, honey?
Yes. Do you want to lead it?
Okay.
Or do you want me to? You go ahead.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, so this is kind of based on a lesson farther back where it says, think about a brother. You know the one. Okay, so close your eyes if you're wanting to do this with us. And think about someone that you think is not as good as you. There will be somebody. And ask the Holy Spirit to show you the light in that person, the strength, the godliness. They are as God created them, as are we. Ask to be united in gratitude with them. I am grateful for this person. This person shows me that I can love unconditionally. Thank you. Thank you for your true being. Thank you for this trigger that shows me where my ego is tripping me up. I give that comparison thought, that arrogance to Holy Spirit and ask for healing. I'm one with my brother. I love him or her, and I'm grateful for her or him. Amen.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So what occurred to me while I was doing that is we should clarify that love is the way I walk in gratitude. Is, if you read carefully, you'll see way is a synonym for path or road. So love is a road that I walk with gratitude in my heart.
It's also a course that you take.
A course.
A course that you take. Let's take this course right here.
Okay.
That's a way.
Yeah, it is. It is a way. Yes, it is.
So do we want to pick up from here where
go ahead.
we've established already that he's calling it insane to get your well-being by comparing yourself to others. It's also insane that if you've given everything, if you've been given everything, which means all of the acts of forgiveness, the atonement, not to access it right away. So if we're not doing that, then here's what he says. We thank God for this one thing alone, that we are not separate from any living thing, and therefore we're one with God. And we rejoice that no exceptions ever can be made which would reduce our wholeness, nor impair or change our function, to complete the one who is himself completion. We complete love, and this is going to say, love is so grateful for us that we're completing love. Its gratitude for us is the same gratitude we can have for that love.
That's a really good point. I missed that. Yeah. I really didn't see that.
See,
so God is grateful to us.
Yeah, for being the extension, for not blocking the extension. I mean, here's God's children. God's children are calling the sick, the disease, the hunger, the suffering. They're calling for love. Yeah. And if they're in our field, if they're in their sense of what's surrounding us, then they're calling to us for love.
Right.
And we can answer that call. And God's gratitude that we haven't blocked the extension of love and we've let it flow through us to everything in that moment.
Yeah,
we're grateful for every living thing. And then it says, then let our brothers, let them lean their tired heads against our shoulders and let them rest a while. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean any behavior, especially with dysfunctional people, is talking about an inner, and it may be something outer, but it's talking about an inner welcoming and inviting them into your spirit. Mm-hmm. And for if we can direct them to peace, that we would find the way is opening at last for us. See how it breaks the individuality, and the one way the Course breaks our sense of being individual and separate from the others is what we have to share. It's what we have to share that shows us our unity.
Yeah.
Right? Because forgiveness isn't just for me.
Yeah. No.
It's for...
it wouldn't be real if it were just for you.
Right. And you and I learned that, we've been doing the course a while, and we learned that if I forgive myself or I forgive you, I get the same benefit.
Right.
Because we're one.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the lesson.
I would like to get into a little small side trip about the obstacles to peace.
Absolutely.
Okay. So down in, where does it say the fear? Oh, here. Middle of paragraph 8. The fear of God is now undone at last, and we forgive without comparing. And it talks in the sentence before it, what remains as obstacles to peace. What's left as obstacles to peace. So the obstacles to peace are in chapter 19, I think section 4. It's a long section, and I used to think it was very dark, and now I just see it as full of light. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
So what it's talking about is what we have in our own mind that stops us from experiencing God's love and the love of each other.
Yeah.
And so some of them, I'm just going to reprise them quickly. First of all, the desire to get rid of peace. Like, peace? Nah, that's boring. I want some drama. Give me some drama. Yeah, you'll get drama. Yes, you will.
And it's quick to note there that the reason we're denying the peace is because we don't want, and this is when we're thinking with the ego, we don't want to lose the guilt and shame that we're using to control the world and people. That's why we get rid of the peace. I need this guilt and shame to either manage myself or somebody else.
Yeah.
So buy peace.
Yeah, exactly. So the next obstacle is the attraction of guilt. And we don't realize that we're attracted to guilt, but we're really, most of us are attracted to other people's guilt. I mean, you look at what's up in the news, and it's all asking you to make a judgment of somebody's guilt. Who's guilty? That is to avoid our own guilt. But either way, it's an attraction of guilt. Then there's the belief that the body is valuable for what it offers.
For in and of itself.
In and of itself, not as an instrument, but just, I get to have all these wonderful physical pleasures. Of course, it's not saying don't have them. It's saying they are not the goal. And if you make your body the goal, you are really going down a negative vortex.
And don't you think the Course always says is that when you start experiencing the peace of forgiveness,
yeah,
the charms of the world slowly drop off because there's no comparison to that inner peace, the peace that passeth understanding.
Yeah.
So it's not denying the experiences of the body. It's just saying in and of itself, it's not enough.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. The body is an instrument.
Yeah.
We have to take care of it. We still, take showers.
So what's the next one?
Attraction of pain. We are attracted to pain. If we have pain, it's because we wanted it. We have to be honest with ourselves here. Attraction of death. I talked recently about how, every thought that I followed back, every little bit of anxiety that I followed back to its source, it was like, and then I'm going to die. So the example I used was a little grease on the counter. It's like, it's that.
Yeah, right. And remember in there, what it's saying is your aversion to death, which we all have on a conscious level, is really an attraction to it. Because it's saying, in the ego's thinking, death is going to end all our conflicts. Like, when I die, I'll get it, and everything will be over, right?
Yeah. So
it's really an attraction to death.
These things are attractions, I know, yeah. So then, actually, the last one, which is what this lesson is addressing, is the fear of God. And if you read that section in 19 carefully, you'll see that the fear of God is completely undone when the veil between two people is lifted.
When we both raise our hands to drop the veil.
That's another way of looking at it.
And that's what this lesson is.
And this is saying, and if you still play in the gratitude game of making your brother less than you, there's still a little bit to be corrected. So We know that love is unconditional. There's no love but God's. All love is God's love, if it's true. And the same with gratitude. All gratitude is one. It's God's gratitude.
Right.
Our gratitude for God, His for us. My gratitude for you, my gratitude for the person that I didn't use in the exercise.
Mm-hmm.
All one. It's a state of being.
So would you say, I mean, often these things sometimes are very, very deep and challenging to change. So would you also say that if we're holding that gratitude, if we at that moment can't seem to experience, that's okay. But if
Sure.
if we have faith, we know it'll come.
We try.
Yeah, we try.
We do our practice.
Yeah.
Once an hour, stop. Throughout the day, even between the hours, think about it. Morning and evening, have some quiet time with the practice.
You know, I'd like to.
It's the end.
Well, did we come on early?
Well, okay, we'll wait.
Yeah.
We'll wait to see.
Go ahead and finish.
Just
Please,
one more
go ahead.
thing. I just
Okay.
wanted to mention that a couple of lessons back, all things are lessons God would have me learn. It said you can break the chains of time. In other words, the chains of karma, chains of I've got to pay for my action. You can break the chains of time if you stop every hour and with gratitude look at the hour that went by and offer your forgiveness and your gratitude to those situations. So as you go forward in the next hour, you're free of that hour. And it's saying bit by bit, step by step, hour by hour, we
Yeah.
can release these chains of times and stay in the peace constantly. Okay, that's it. Thank you.